We've seen that through transactions and their attributes, we can represent strong and weak one-to-N relationships between the actors in our reality, as well as N-to-N relationships. Now, let's focus on one-to-one relationships. In other videos, several cases of representation of one-to-one relationships have been mentioned. So let's now review and unify what has already been seen in this video. When considering the concept of subtypes, the case of attribute specialization was represented. In this scenario, we have people's general information, such as their identifier, name, and date of birth in the person transaction. But it's also necessary to record specific information corresponding to customers, passengers, and employees. Always bearing in mind that they are all persons. Every customer, passenger, and employee are persons. That's why the customer, passenger, or employee's identifier must match exactly that of a person to represent that they are persons. This is achieved by defining the corresponding groups of subtypes. By doing this, the attributes customer ID, passenger ID, and employee ID, besides being the identifiers of the tables, customer, passenger, and employee respectively, will be, at the same time, foreign keys in the table person. Therefore, when the user enters a value in the identifier of any of these three transactions, customer, passenger, or employee, a record with the same value as identifier will be searched for in the person table. This design then represents one-to-one relationships between the general table and the one corresponding to each specialization. Now, let's go over this other scenario. A travel agency needs to associate with each customer the bank account opened to pay for the services hired. In this way, a customer has only one bank account, and one bank account is associated with only one customer. But this design on display represents a one-to-N relationship, and somehow we must then limit N to 1. This attribute, customer ID, must not be repeated in bank account. In other words, we have to make sure that two or more records with the same value cannot exist for that attribute. This means that we want customer ID to be a candidate key on bank account. How can it be done? By defining a unique index. Remember that indexes are efficient ways to access data. A previous video showed that Genexus automatically creates the primary and foreign indexes in each table, and that we can also create our own indexes and indicate whether they accept duplicate values. A unique index is an index that does not accept duplicate values. It's a candidate key, an attribute, or set of attributes, and, even though it's not the primary key of the transaction, Genexus will still control its uniqueness automatically. This design solution then represents that customer ID is a foreign key in bank account, and at the same time, its value will not be repeated because it'll be automatically controlled by the definition of the unique index. In this way, a one-to-one relationship exists between customer and bank account.